Okay. Hi, Cam. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. How are you?
Doing fine, thank you. Thank you for coming on the show. Nice to have you
My
here.
pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So, you are a commercial airline pilot, is that correct?
I retired a year ago after 35 years with American Airlines.
Oh, okay, retired. And your book, which I see behind you, Highwire, is this a terror in the sky kind of story?
Not so much. Highwire is about an airline captain who's accused of an airplane crash that caused six people to die. What the world doesn't know is that the electronics, the computer systems on the aircraft, they're contaminated with a computer virus. And our captain, in this case, is a female captain, didn't not only not crash, but actually saved the plane. And through the course of the book, the book starts, in just last 5 minutes of a flight into Kennedy in a post 9/11 world. And the crash occurs, and then she has to not only prove herself as a pilot while going through humiliation and blame that comes with something like this. She has to delve into the world of high tech in aviation and corporate greed. And as she does that, she comes across, she learns the truth finally, and comes across the person who created the virus. And there she learns that another aircraft is contaminated halfway over the ocean, and they're doomed with no way back. And it's up to her alone to be able to pull off a miracle. Except in the process, she most likely has to give up her own life.
I don't want to give too much of the story away, but I did want to ask. So, the computer virus that was infecting the flight management.
Actually, that's pretty good. Are you an aviation person?
Well, I almost got my private, but it was a long time ago. I had such a lousy instructor that I just quit because I couldn't stand the
Oh, I'm
guy.
sorry. So flight management computer is one of the actual, pieces of equipment that's out there. So when you said flight management, you got my attention. So yes, it's a computer virus in an extremely highly automated aviation world right now. Aviation is so much more automated and technologically advanced versus, just a generation ago. That is unbelievable. I mean, we used to have three pilots in the cockpit. One seat has been removed. The entire flight engineers panel has been removed. So two people are doing the work of three, and it is so much better. But with that means, there's a lot more computers. There's a lot more electronics and computers talking to computers, making sure that the information that they have is correct. And in my world, I looked at these computers and I said, these computers are designed not to fail. And if one fails, then there is a backup. And if that fails, there is a backup. But all these backups are designed, to take over in case of a failure of some kind, mechanical failure, electronic failure. But what if nothing, does fail? What if the computer receives bad information it believes is correct? As was the case in, a lot of the real events, unfortunately, that have happened, like 737 Maxes, where computers were telling the plane that, it's about to stall and it's pushing it down, where the pilots were doing the reverse to try and keep it, flying. What if something like that happens? And so that's how the story was born. And computer virus that contaminates the plane. They don't know anything. There are no warnings given, but just the plane starts to act erratically, and it's just at that point it's just this pure experience, and that's what our pilot uses, our captain, and that's what she gets blamed for.
You're reminding me of a video that I saw. I think it was an Air France Airbus. It was at an air show or something, and the computers locked it on takeoff, and the thing went right into the trees. You probably have seen that video.
I am very familiar with that. This was about, I don't know, 15 years or so ago,
Yeah.
maybe a little bit longer, and I forgot exactly what model airplane it was, but that's precisely right. Airbuses are far more automated than Boeing aircraft, and they all have the fly-by-wire system. And the plane thinks that it's not in the right place, and it will do what it wants to do. And when you have the fly-by-wire system, I chose the fly-by-wire system as the synopsis, for the book. The reason for that is that it is so automated, and so many, it's such a great system, actually. It's a very safe system, secure system, but it is all computerized. A pilot still have the yoke. We can still, turn the yoke. It still feels exactly the same as if, you're flying an airplane and you're moving something. But all really you're doing is typing on a keyboard. Even the feel that you feel in the controls is generated by machines that make you feel like you're doing something when you really are just typing on keyboards. And that's precisely what happened there in that case. And the plane, they went down right into the woods, right on an air show. What a shocking, event that was. And you can't even imagine what was going on in that cockpit, as they're seeing this, and there's nothing that anybody can do about it.
Well, do you think that it's too automated at that point where the pilots can't override the computer and just pull the damn thing up?
Well, there's good and bad with the automation. The automation makes things so much safer, so much better. It reduces workload by a tremendous amount. Remember, again, you went from 3 pilots to 2. And so the workload is now, divided up between 2 people. So it's great in many, many, many cases, but not in all cases, as we're finding out that there are exceptions. Airbus planes are even significantly more automated than Boeing airplanes. And I'm not really quite sure why that is. Maybe the markets are selling, maybe that's just the way they feel it needs to be. But Boeing airplanes and Airbus too, you can eventually just shed all of the automation. You can just kick everything off, and hand fly it. You should be able to do that. But there are exceptions to that where computers take over. And if you have enough time, you can sort through that perhaps. But if you don't, as was the case of this Air France, they were in the final, 1 minute, 2 minutes of an approach. You don't have the time to try and figure out what's wrong or how to fix it. And unfortunately, terrible things happen.
How long did you say you were flying? 35 years?
35 years with American Airlines, 9 years before that, just getting, prepared for American Airlines or airlines. So 44 years altogether in and out of cockpits.
In that period of time, did you ever have any real life dramatic events, ditch landings or emergencies, anything, unruly passengers?
Unruly passengers several times, normal stuff, a few times, but there were specifically 5 individual events in the 44 years where I really wish I was on the ground. And one of those events, you want me to talk about one of them?
Yeah, quickly. We got about 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'll make it a short one. First year with American Airlines, I'm a flight engineer on a DC-10, brand new out of school, still on probation. We're going down on a flight from Chicago to LA. It's right at dusk. And going down the runway, the number 2 engine, the engine on the tail, just blows up, just explodes. One of the fan blades gave out and it went right through the engine. We were past the no-go speed. In other words, we don't have enough runway to stop, so we're committed to going even though we're on the ground. And so the captain, Wynn Evans was his name, great guy, took us up in the air. Aircraft is shaking and shuddering, red and amber lights, horns and bells going off everywhere. Air traffic control comes up to us and tells us there's 50 foot of fire shooting out of number 2 engine. And just as I start getting the interphone calls from the cabin, flight attendants telling me that they think the wings are on fire. I'm trying to figure out how the heck could the wings be on fire. It turns out the wings are not on fire. It was simply the reflection of the fire we're seeing right at the dusk light, and that's what they thought it was. Anyhow, the pilots, the 2 up front, did a great job. Went around, we dumped the gas, came back, landed in a sea of red and white lights, in the rescue equipment. No big deal. Taxied to the plane to the gate, and we're the last ones to leave the aircraft to go back in. By now, all the passengers are boarded. A deep plane. They were sitting around by the gate waiting to find out what to do next. So we went out to the gate, and there was a lot of applause and clapping, and people asking us questions. Fast forward 2 hours, all the passengers along with the crew, we try to get on the last flight to LA. So we're now a passenger. I'm a passenger now, the last one to board. I get on the plane, and people are clapping. They're asking you questions. They want to know what happens, because most of these passengers were the ones that just were flying with us. They help me with my bag, because you're the last one. Most of the overhead space is taken away. So I sit down, and we don't leave for a while. And then one gentleman, a young man, comes in just at the very end. And we're watching him, everybody's waiting to see why we're not taking off. And he comes in and looks at his boarding pass, and he looks up at the seat numbers, and, walks up a couple of more rows and looks at his boarding and the seat again. Does this 4 or 5 times till he gets to my seat. And he looks at my seat number and looks at his boarding pass. Turns out that they have sold my seat, and so I had to get out of the airplane, try and find my bags, and embarrassingly leave the airplane, try and look for a hotel. So hero time was over. It was time to find a hotel room for the night. That was one of my 5 times.
Wow, interesting. I wanted to ask you, have you written other books, or is this your first book? Or
I've written a few other ones. They will be coming out. 2 additional ones are coming out this year in 23. One is called Silent Voices. It's about a story that takes place in Afghanistan. It's 2 sisters born in the United States but separated at birth. One ended up being lost in Afghanistan because the parents were journalists, and one is born and raised here. So they look like each other, the same color of skin, eyes, hair, except one believes that she's, an Afghan, born and raised, in the villages in rural Afghanistan. The other one is, an American, lives her entire life has been here. And they learn about each other, and all of this takes place 30 days before the American withdrawal from Afghanistan, July of 2021. And so they have to go and find each other and work their way through the insanity of that period of time and all that was going on.
Okay.
Silent Voices, that'll be coming out later on this year.
All right, but Highwire is your first published book?
Highwire is the first published book, yeah. It was nominated by the Edgars, again, based on just, it did very well. Very fortunate in that. And it was a good story. It's a very realistic story, a lot of research done behind it, like all the books.
Okay, how long has it been out?
Well, the original version of Highwire came out in 2001. The book was actually being sold the week of 9/11. And the first printing, this was published by Random House, Bantam Dell at that point. And first printing was supposed to be 244,000 copies. And the galleys that they sell off the book off of were going out in the week of 9/11. So it was a terrible time for everybody, obviously. And so it didn't do nearly as well as we had hoped. So years went by, and I got the rights reverted back to myself, and I decided to give it another shot here and updated it to today's environment and to today's world, and it's being re-released.
Well, Kam, we got to wind this down. We are out of time. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Do you have a website you want to give out?
Yeah, just my name, Kam Majd, KAMMAJD.com. It's got everything in it. Other than that, just that on Amazon or Barnes & Noble, any of the normal portals, and it's there.
Okay. Well, again, thank you for coming on. It was nice meeting you, nice chatting with you. Best of luck with the book. I hope it does well.
Thank you very much, Douglas. Thank you for having me.